Hi, this is Dr. Terri Sprouse. I'm the Less Stressed Doc, and I'm here to help you get into your happy place. And I want you to stay there and get rid of all the stresses that are keeping you away from your happy place. Today, I got my wife with me. Yay, hey Terri, say hi.
Good morning.
Drive on happiness highway.
And we have a special guest today. Her name's Crystal Robinson. She started out as an engineer and was a vice president in this company. And then she went back and did more psychological stuff. And so now she's become a wellness coach and life coach. And so she's here to help share her story that can help you get to your happy place and get rid of some of your stresses. So Crystal, thank you so much for coming here and being with us today.
Hello, I'm so happy and honored to be part of your podcast, The Less Stressed Doc. I love that.
I'm having a great time. I like this podcast because I get to meet all these new exciting people and see how other people are helping their clients get better. In my words, get into their happy place. I don't know what your words are, but basically feeling better about themselves. So tell us about yourself. Tell us where you came from.
I tell people that I'm a product of the body keeps the score. A lot of stuff throughout my life, stresses, traumas, all those things built up in my body, and then my body started screaming with all kinds of conditions, autoimmune, diagnosis, brain tumor. I've had all kinds of stuff. And it was all of those things that I kept not listening to until it really came to a crescendo. And then I just had to. I had no choice. And I had to find my own happy place. I had to find the things in my life that gave me joy and work through all my emotions and the mind drama and change my mindset to help be healthy, more than just nutrition and exercise.
Terri and I were talking because I think you were in the same kind of place that she was, where you were trying to be super mom, right?
Oh yeah, trying to balance career and children and family and yourself. And sometimes there's just way too many pulls in all sorts of different directions. So what you end up giving up is yourself. You sacrifice yourself to lend the energy to the other requirements that you have in your life.
I agree with that. I found that everything I did was for my kids, for my family, for my career, all of those things, whether it was working full time and bringing the kids to all their things and going to all their things and being a Girl Scout leader and in my spare time, fitting in all these other things.
Wait, you're a Girl Scout too?
8 years I did
my
that.
Wife is, I swear to God, she's at home singing these songs. I'm like, what the heck song is that? She goes, oh, it's from Girl Scouts. I'm like, oh my God.
We do all of those things because we want the people around us that we love to be happy and healthy. But then we forget about ourselves.
Mm-hmm. For you, it hasn't really changed till just now, right?
Correct.
We retired at the end of December. And so she's in this place now where she's like, I've been so busy doing for others. Now that I don't have to do for others, I don't even know what it is that I want. So somehow that changed for you a little bit sooner. I don't know if that was because of all the physical things that happened to you or...
I believe it was. I believe it was those catalysts in my life that just brought me to more awareness about really taking care of myself and living authentically instead of just living on what people expected me to be.
Wait. I'm gonna hold you up on that one. Tell me what authentic means there. I've heard that word used a number of times.
For me, authentically is those things inside of you that are always screaming to come out, but we hold them back because we're afraid of what other people might think or say.
You've said that before to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah. There's some truth inside of you that you want to get out, but you're not willing to do it because you're worried about consequences.
We're groomed from childhood to believe certain things, to do certain things, to not do certain things based on, our family environments, our culture, whatever is around us. And those things shape us. But sometimes they're put on us and they're not really truly part of ourself. And we're afraid to question them, or we're afraid to do things outside of what's expected of us. And I think a lot of people, as they grow up and become adults and are living that way, get uncomfortable because they don't feel like they're living the way they want to live. They're living because of what's been expected of them.
There's a book I just finished reading called Internal Family Systems. It's an awesome book. So for anybody who wants to read it, get it because it's awesome. But what he talks about, or he and she, because there's two authors, what you're describing is the word he uses is called a legacy burden, which is like you've grown up with these ideas. You don't even know where they came from. They're just a part of you now because you've grown up like that. So one of the things that he talked about, I guess it was his wife, when she would cook a ham, she would cut off the end of it. And he finally said to her, why do you cut the end of the ham off? She goes, I don't know, my mom always did that. So they went back to her mom and said, Mom, why do you cut the end of the ham off? She goes, I don't know, my mom always did that. So they went back to the grandma and they're like, why do you cut the end of the ham off? She goes, well, because I only had small pots and it didn't fit, so I had to cut the end off. But like 3 generations of women are cutting the end off a ham because the other lady didn't have a big enough pot, right? So this is the kind of thing that people get into trouble with, is that they've had these things that they've been grown up with as if they consider that's just the way it is, when it turns out not just the way it is. It's because somebody did something in the past and that just became the legacy burden.
I use an example like that when I talk to people about reactions and how your body reacts. And this example is personal to me, but I think it connects to a lot of people. I grew up in a household where after you were done with dinner, everybody, would go off into the, den or the living room or wherever. And like the kids had to clean up. And we had to do all the cleanup, and all had to be cleaned up before we could go play or before we had to go do anything else. And from the time I was probably, 6, 8, even, young. And so I grew up that way. And I lived with just my dad from the time I was 10. My mom moved out early. And so it was like, I was the woman of the house really young. So I always had to take care of the dishes. And my dad said, oh, I'll take care of the outside. You do the inside. So when I was with my husband and doing family dinners, or I would go to his house and do family dinners, they would, all have dinner, and then everything would go into the kitchen and just get piled on the counter and in the sink. And everybody would go back to the dining room and play cards or have a blast and talk. And I would feel this pull to that kitchen. I'd feel really gross inside. Like it was yanking me. I was like, what? It wasn't until I really understood as an adult, like sitting now, is 40, 50 years old, I'm 51, but sitting with my family and leaving them to go do the dishes while everybody's having a good time. And actually taking that feeling and being like, it's okay. They can sit there. I can take care of them later. I can take care of them tomorrow morning. Nothing's going to hurt them. I'm going to enjoy being in the present moment with my friends and family. But we're conditioned to do something, and then it's just part of us.
You talk about that you've done some work in neuroscience, and to me, we get these connections in our brain, and they're not just, we use the word habit, but really there's literally connections in your neurons. So it's a physical track that says, hey, when that thing goes off, you go do this. And so what you're saying is you were sort of conditioned that, hey, at the end of a meal, you go and clean up. And when you don't do that, you're like, what? Yeah, that's really uncomfortable, right?
Your nervous system's talking to you. It's like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We don't like this.
So what happens when you decide, and this is where I am right now, when I am deciding that the responsibilities that I've taken on in my life, I no longer have or no longer want to do, and now I'm going to be changing the relationship with my friends and family, because my husband
and husband,
my husband,
right, yeah.
well, your family, but I'll be changing the relationship in the family, not because I'm purging a responsibility that I've been burdened with, but because I've taught you that this is what I do, and now I want to change that dynamic because it no longer fits. So how do you help your friends and family and your husband migrate to that new destination that you want to get to?
That's something that I've experienced myself quite a bit. Like with my husband, we'll be coming up on 30 years married this year. And it's a constant dynamic, as you know, being in a marriage. Things change with each person, depending on where they are with their career, where they are with family. It's about expressing your emotions and your feelings and the communication. That's super important. And most people just ruminate them in their head. They have the conversations pretending in their head, as opposed to actually voicing those concerns with their partner or with their family member or with their friend, that they're trying to change the dynamics. Instead of just changing them, they're ruminating about them and trying to figure out, well, how can I make this happen without confrontation? And that's what people fear. And there is a way to approach things without confrontation, where you're just saying, okay, these are the feelings that I'm having right now. These are my concerns about those feelings. But a lot of people just don't want to be vulnerable and do that. But if this is your husband, if this is your family member, that's the first place to start, with being vulnerable.
And I've seen a lot of married couples come to my office and have lots of significant problems. What I've learned is that miscommunication is probably the biggest problem. Husband is saying A and wife is hearing B. Wife is responding with C, but husband's hearing D.
All of the things aren't the reason that they're unhappy. It's the feelings, right? The things don't matter. It's the feelings that are created by the things.
If you're trying to express your feeling, but he's not hearing what you're saying, in his head it's gotten translated to something else, there's a miscommunication going on. Like I did this thing called imago therapy once, and what they talk about is mirroring. So I don't know if you use that at all, but I found that it was very awkward, but it did do what it was supposed to do. We were at a meeting, and they had this husband and wife team get up. They were gonna do this dialogue. So the wife said, your money comes in intermittently. He goes, what? I work my butt off. Why are you complaining about how I work? Blah, blah, blah. And the moderator's like, and then she's like, see, you never listen to me. And they just ramped right on up, right? The moderator like, whoa, 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 let's put a break on this. He goes, I want you to do the mirroring thing. So she goes, look, I don't like, you're a real estate agent, and so your money comes in intermittently, and it's hard for me to figure out what bills to pay. So, and he looked at her and he goes, well, I don't like that either. And I'm like, wait. They had actually both agreed, but they'd end up in a fight because they weren't listening to each other because of the miscommunication. So
I call that shadow work also. There's mirroring, but there's also shadow. And it's the things about other people and the way they talk and what they say that triggers stuff inside of you that you don't like.
That was exactly right. Yes, for sure.
It can be icky. It doesn't feel good. It's usually centered in ego or protection or fear. But one of the things that I found that I've been working with recently, I'm now getting certified in solution-focused brief therapy with Elliot Connie, the Diamond Method. And the solution-focused brief therapy really is when you sit down with people individually or as a group, you're looking for what is the outcome? What is your best outcome? What are you looking to achieve ultimately? And specifically when it comes to harmony of a relationship, right? If you're having this argument, what is your best outcome? What are you looking for? And looking at what each of their best outcomes are and having them describe exactly what that outcome is. And then looking at the history of that relationship and when they've had that outcome, whether it's, being happy or being intimate or all of the things about their relationship that they love that they're missing. And when they had that before and what their resources were that they were to get there. And as soon as all those things come back, they find they have the power to do what they're trying to do to create their best outcome.
It's kind of what happened to me. Like I started out writing my book, Highway to Your Happy Place, The Roadmap to Less Stress, with the idea that I'm going to help people have less stress. But I started asking patients like, well, where would you be if you had less stress? And they got this quizzical look on their face like, I don't know, I never really got that far. And it's like, if you don't know where you're trying to get, then getting there is really difficult. And I think what you're saying is with the outcome, it's like you need to know where you want to get to, then the path to get there becomes a lot easier to find.
Then you realize that you actually have been there, that you know how to do it, you just forgot. Same thing with happiness.
What you told me was that you wrote a chapter in a book and it's getting ready to come out. What, and it's titled Catalyst or something?
That's the title of my chapter. The book is called The Change, Insights into Self-Empowerment. It's volume 22. It's one of the fastest growing self-improvement books in the world. It has got 22 authors in it from all over the world, from different places, whether it be entrepreneurship, personal stories. There's all kinds of really great stuff in it. It's forwarded by Les Brown, who's an amazing speaker and empowerment coach. I wrote specifically about my catalysts with my health and my stresses and all of those things, and how I learned that just doing the things for my health that the doctors wanted me to do, or the nutrition wanted me to do, or the exercise wanted me to do, wasn't solving my health condition problems. It had more to do with my mind and my spirit. The happiness lays in balancing all three of those. So my chapter is all about kind of how I did that in a condensed way.
Okay, well tell us, what did you do? I'm sure there's lots of people out there that want to hear what you did.
Well, nutrition was huge for me. Really figuring out what was best for me, learning a holistic way to do that, learning electromagnetic muscle testing, which a lot of people say is very woo, but it's been founded and been used since early 60s, I believe. It's part of energy and working with energy of your body and understanding that your nervous system knows exactly what you need. Instead of listening to somebody when they say, well, blueberries are great, everybody should eat blueberries. Well, one person's body may not like blueberries because your DNA is completely individual. Every single body is individual, including twins. So if you have a complete individual DNA, what works for one isn't always going to work for another. So really learning, oh, these are the things that I can eat that work well for my body and nourish me. And these are the things that I can't. Or when I eat them, they disrupt my cycles. They disrupt what's going on with my body, my digestion, my mind. You get the mind fog, you get all those things. Those things totally add to dis-ease in the body, as well as the traumas, the mind drama, all of those things. So I really had to learn meditation, really understanding what's going on in my brain, understanding all of the things that I can help heal, learning how to process my emotions somatically through my body. Like I talked about with the dishes thing, like why was I electrically feeling tense when the dishes were in the kitchen? And I was, I had to learn that, oh, I'm not on a war here. Nothing's going to hurt me because the dishes are dirty. I had to learn that I had to question everything in my mind and how my body was reacting. Your body's telling you what's going on, and your mind is trying to say, oh yeah, we have to go do that. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I hear you, but they're not on fire. So I don't have to do them right away.
In the book, The Body Keeps Score, one of the things that he talks about a lot is that people have, because of trauma in their past, have sort of shut down their own sensory system and said, look, I don't want to feel anything because if I feel something, that's too strong. So I just don't want to feel anything. And so they kind of close down all of their sensory input. And so then things can happen to them that they don't even realize because they're not even paying attention.
I found that happened to me when I was on medications to help with the anxiety and depression. And when I was dealing with all that from my medical traumas, they put me on lots of medication so that I could function. But I felt like I wasn't feeling anything. I was numb. And then it really took me a while to really find, okay, what are the things that I'm actually going to feel something? And that's when I started dancing. I started doing more creative pursuits. I started doing things for me.
My wife and I like to dance, so we're like, yeah, good for that, right? Dancing's awesome.
It was things for me that felt great, and I couldn't think about anything else when I did it. I would love to draw or paint or, do creative pursuits. The dancing was a great one because my feet had to move. I had to think about where I was going. I had to feel what my partner was doing. I couldn't think about anything else. I wasn't in fear. I wasn't in fight or flight anymore. So just learning those things that you can do for your body and your mind and your spirit that connects them all so that you can heal fully.
Yeah, I could totally understand what you were saying about to avoid feeling bad, you shut down all sensory inputs so you don't feel anything, because at the tail of 2019, 2020, when we opened the recovery residence, we had COVID, all these stressful, overwhelming things were going on because our workload like quadrupled. In order to get through all those stressors, I just shut down my emotions so that I didn't get overwhelmed. It didn't work. But then also what happened was in early 2020, our first grandchild was born. And I don't feel like I got to truly enjoy being a grandma for the first time because I was so shut down that I wouldn't even let the good stuff come in. Because if I let the good stuff come in, the bad stuff might leak out.
And that's a tremendous feeling, right? Mm-hmm. That you feel like you're being almost caged.
Oh yeah. I mean, I actually had a visit to the emergency room thinking I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
I've been there. I feel it. That's hard. So how did you get out of it?
Who said I did?
Are you still feeling caged?
No, I'm actually feeling the exact opposite. Because I'd put myself on the back burner for so long, having to do what I needed to do, what I had to do, what I felt like I had to do, I didn't nurture myself. And now that we're retired and I could do whatever I want, I don't know what that is. And I feel like my soul has become like a houseplant. Whereas I didn't water it for so long, it became dead. And now if I put water on it now, it's just watering a dead plant. So I'm trying to find who that person is right now, given the freedoms that I have now that I don't have the responsibilities of childcare, of employment, of recovery residence. Basically, all the stressors that I had, or mostly,
all these obligations.
All these obligations are gone. And now, how do I fill my life with something that's meaningful? Because the things that I thought I wanted to do, like you said, dance. I used to take ballet. But between my ankle injury and my shoulder injury and my neck injury from having played softball as a child, and I stopped playing when I turned 50, dance is not really a good option for me, even though I enjoy it because I have these physical limitations. So I'm still trying to learn who I am or who I want to be, because who I wanted to be 20 years ago is a completely different person than who I want to be now, quite frankly. I mean, I've evolved. I'm just trying to figure that out. So anybody got any clues, just let me know.
Well, I would offer you questions, right? What does your life look like if you feel fulfilled?
Now you're talking about my happy place,
Yeah.
right? That's part of my happy. That's what we've been working on, right? So for me, when I define fulfillment, I talk about giving, and I talk about learning, and I talk about having a purpose in life. Something that when you get up in the morning, you're enthusiastic about. And what I've seen with other people, and I think you're in this place, she likes giving, but there's a certain obligation to it. Like if you volunteer someplace, then she gets that feeling of obligation, and she's like, I don't want to be obligated. You know, learning, find her purpose, that what gets me up and gets me enthusiastic, that's where she's been struggling. So if you have some answers on how to find a purpose in your life, let me know, right?
I have a whole workshop that I go through with people for purpose, to give you a purpose statement. And it's based on things that you admire and things that inspire you in others. It can be others that are people you even don't know. They could be, famous deities, famous people. They can be imaginary characters on TV or in films. There is certain things that you feel inspire you, and certain characteristics about people that help you find out what's important to you. It's really coming down into your core values.
All right, so I'm going to set my wife up an appointment to see you, okay?
We can go through that. It's really interesting because you'll be surprised at what comes up for you, right? Some people will say Mother Teresa. Other people might say the character Mulan from the movie, right? Why does that person inspire you? What about that person makes you really, want to be like them? What characteristics do they have? What superpowers do they have? Which superpowers do you see in you?
So we have to wrap this up. Is there one thing that you want to say to our audience to close this out?
Question everything, be super curious, and try to follow your spirit.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. That sounds good. Crystal, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been awesome. This has been as helpful to us. Hopefully the audience is getting something out of this also, right? So Crystal, thank you for coming. Terry, thanks for being here. I want to thank you guys for being here. Show is for you so that you can spend more time in your happy place. So check out my book, The Highway to Your Happy Place, A Roadmap to Less Stress, or my other book, The Mindset Matters. Then if you want, you can go on my website. So it's thelessstressdoc.com. Or if you need something more personal, like you have a specific question about your situation, then email me at lessstressdoc@gmail.com. So thank you for coming here. Spend some time in your happy place. This is Dr. Terri Sprouse, Less Stress Doc with Terry. Thank you for listening.
Drive on.